Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I made this Irish prayer card using Technique Junkie stamps from the February 2023 release. Here we go. Alright, so I'm going to show you how I made this little card. I'm going to do it just a little bit differently because I like to kind of change things up sometimes, but it's going to be pretty darn close. So let me get you zoomed in and show you what all we have here. So I have these little charms. Some are Tim Holtz, some are not. I think the key is not, the other ones are. Because you can use any charm you want, really. I have the Nothing But Happiness stamp, which is like an Irish prayer, SD 1226. I have the Shamrocks S997. I have some circle dies. You can use scissors if you want to. I couldn't cut a circle to save my life. I've got here some foundry wax in the color of Statue. I've got VersaFine Claire in Green Oasis. I've got a couple of pieces of accent opaque paper, and then I've got a craft card base. I've got some string. And I've got a little brush that's dedicated to my foundry wax. We'll start out with the background. So we're going to start out with the Shamrocks background. And I've got some clear embossing powder. Let me get this over to the side here. And I'm going to grab my Misty tool. I'm trying to move things out of the way. It's hard to work on this this media mat, but I do need it for some of the steps I'm going to be doing. So I'll go ahead and grab the Shamrock stamp. It's a beautiful background stamp. You could go light or heavy with it, whatever you want. In my case, I'm going to go heavy on the green. I am Irish, so yeah, I get to do that. And trying to keep myself in frame here, but it's nearly impossible with the giant Misty. I'm just going to stamp down with the green here. Not just that, but I don't know what happened with my iPhone, but it's decided to film upside down. I must have changed a setting in it, and I can't figure out where it is, so I keep forgetting that my camera's over to the right now instead of the left. Not that I can't edit it, but yeah. So I'm going to use some anti-static powder because I will be doing some ink blending on here, and I don't want, any white spots. I'm going to make sure this is down in the corner, and I'm going to stamp it down the first time. I'm going to give it some pressure with my pressure tool. Nice even pressure all the way around. But because we use the anti-static powder tool, I'm going to need another stamping on there to get it nice and dark. So going in with my VersaFine Claire again, and you do want to use either, you could use embossing ink and green embossing powder, but I just find it easier to use clear. Make sure I'm down in the corner again so that I don't get a funny stamp. And go ahead and give that lots and lots of pressure again. Okay. Let me adjust my camera here so that you're in view. There we go. Nice and dark. I'm loving it. I'm going to pull it out. And I'm going to try and grab the edges without getting my fingers in the ink and just coat it with the clear embossing powder. Tap off any excess, find a spot that I can grab. You could use, a tool if you wanted to, tweezers, whatever. I can't be asked. Give it just a light thump, get off any excess, and then I'll go ahead and heat emboss that. And I'm not going to emboss it from the back because it's just too awkward to do that on camera. But normally I would. Just want to make sure that they're all, that there's no loose embossing powder by the time I'm done here. Can't have that. I can see a spot that I missed there. Hopefully I remember to go back and get it. I must, because I didn't notice it when I was ink blending over it. And you may hear some rumbles of thunder. We're under a tornado watch here. It happens a lot. We rarely actually get the tornadoes, but we do get the thunder and lightning, so there's that. And I did remember to go back and get that spot. But I am going to set this aside to cool so I can go on to the next step. Oop, you hear that? So I'm going to go ahead and clean off my stamp here. And I just use a rag to clean it off, and then clean off any excess ink off of my stamp platform. And then I'm going to stamp the little Irish prayer here just on a piece of accent opaque cardstock. And this is 110-pound accent opaque. It doesn't really matter how it's stamped down because I'm going to be cutting it out. Just trying to get myself in frame here. There we go. I'll get used to it. Oh my goodness. I am going to hit this also with the anti-static powder tool. And this is one from Rabbit Hole Designs, by the way, in case you were wondering. Ooh, you hear that? Oh, that's a truck. I thought that was thunder. Oh my gosh. So I'm stamping again with the Green Oasis VersaFine Clair ink. I want it all to match up, and I'm going to stamp that twice as well. You know, I mean, I live in a quiet neighborhood, but all of a sudden there's all these big trucks coming through. Go figure. And I'm going to turn on my heat tool, make sure that it's hot already. I don't want to warp this too much, but when I send it through the cutting machine, through my Vagabond, it'll definitely straighten back out. So I'm going to go ahead and clear heat emboss this as well. Okay. And kind of waiting for my tool to heat up. Here we go. And just make sure I don't miss any. A lot of the reason I like to clear emboss over this stuff is because it takes forever to dry. And, you know, I will typically stick my fingers in it. There's our thunder. Woo! That's a nice one. A long rumbly one. All right, back to what we're doing here. This is nice and cool, so I'm going to go ahead and trim it down to 4 by 5 1/4 using my decal trimmer. And you just want to make sure you're lined up on the grid lines, because with the decal, sometimes it's hard to tell what's straight and what's not, but if you're lined up on the grid lines, it'll be straight. All right, now comes the fun part. I'm going to grab a brush, and I'm going to grab my my vintage photo ink. I'm looking for it here. I have a big pad, but I got out my small pad, so just going to grab my small pad, and I'm just going to start ink blending from the edge and just blend in. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going for a grungy look here. On the previous one, I used antique linen. So that's the only thing I really changed up on this was the color of the background ink that I used. You could use the Catherine Pooler Shea Butter if you want. You could use whatever you want. I'm just kind of going with the browns. So I'm kind of light in some areas and heavy in some areas, and that's the look I'm looking for. And then I'm going to do the edges, but I'm going to grab my other tool here for doing the edges because I want to go in pretty heavy on the edges. And just going all the way around, making sure that I get all the edges. All right, done with that part. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of water and drop some water on here. Then I'm going to take a clean paper towel and I'm going to lift. There we go. Now I'll set that aside and we'll work on the little prayer. So you can see it's just a bit darker than the previous one, but I like it both just the same. So as if you were in the 1900s giving a card in a pub in Ireland. So I'm going to grab a circle here that's going to fit around and cut this out on my vagabond. I'm going to tape that circle down because I like to lay the card directly down onto the base, and then, you know, so that the cutting blade is facing up, and then cut it that way. It tends to minimize warping. But I am going to tape it down on two sides so it stays down, because you can see my paper got itself a little bit warped there from heat embossing. All right, so I've got that run through. I've got my circle. Now I'm going to grunge that up too. So I'm going to grab my antique linen this time. I'll be using both for this. And let me just clean off any excess of the vintage photo off my brush and come in with the antique linen and just kind of fill it in. Just a little bit at a time. I'm not pressing real hard with my brush. I'm just making sure that I get it fairly even, but not too even. And then I'll edge that with the vintage photo. Get those edges darkened down as if it were old and dirty. Looks like a coaster from a pub, huh? That's what it is. It's a coaster. All right, let me just wipe off any excess ink off my embossing. And so I'll show you how this is going to come together. Let's just get some stuff out of the way. Now I've got my string here, and I'm going to go ahead and use my other wishbone. And so the wishbone is not the color that I want it to be, and this is where the foundry wax comes in. And I'm going to go ahead and get my background ready too, because I want to splatter some of it onto it. So you just want to make sure you shake it up really well and have your wishbone sitting the way you want it. And I'm just going to pour some out on my mat. And this brush I use is a dedicated brush for just my foundry wax. So you notice I put quite a bit there because I want to be able to splatter here. And I don't care how the splatters go, and you can barely see them until you put the heat to it. But this gets the metallic color that I want versus the silver color that they come in. I love my foundry wax, by the way. I use it all the time. So I'm just now going to take my heat tool and I'm going to go ahead and heat that up until it sets. And when it sets, it goes shiny on you. It's kind of hard to see here on this wishbone, but hopefully you can see it going shiny. And then I'll go ahead and hit all those spots on the card, and those will go shiny as well. Oops, it's raining now. I like severe weather, by the way. I just enjoy the thrill of it. Of course, I don't enjoy having to go down into the crawl space or anything like that because, you know, spiders and other scary things like that. So what I do here to clean off my brush, because again, like I said, this is a dedicated brush. I don't use it for painting or anything else. I just grab one of these alcohol wipes and I just start brushing it off on the alcohol wipe until it becomes fairly clean. And then I'll just go ahead and clean off the rest of this. Oh, there's a nice one. Spooky. Of course, it's broad daylight here. Hopefully, I don't think we're in danger of tornadoes anymore. I think it's just rain and thunder and wind. All right, so let's get this put together. I'm gonna go ahead and glue my card down to my card base. My card front down to my card base, and I want to make sure that my area is dry before I set that down. And I'm just going to kind of bend it back the way it should be. I'm not going to be popping it up or anything. I'm just going to glue it straight down. You could pop it up and it would look good, but I'm not. I didn't on the original, and I'm not on this one. So I'm just using my art glitter glue. I'm going to put a generous amount on here because it did kind of bend, right, when I embossed it. I'm going to get it nice and even on here. Give it a good press, and then I'll set something heavy on it too. Oops, didn't realize my head was going to be there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put foam tape on the back of this. And let me grab the right foam tape. Okay, this one will work. And I'm just going to put strips, and I want to put them horizontal on there because they're going to be holding down that string. And that's basically all that's going to be holding down the string. So I'll put several. I think several, I put 5 total. Thought I'd just let you listen to the rain and thunder. Okay, so it's January 12th, and there's thunder outside and a tornado watch. Go figure. Mother Nature's been fickle, and so by tomorrow morning by 8 o'clock, it's supposed to be snowing. Right now, it's about 60 degrees out. It's gone crazy. All right, so we're ready to put this bad boy together. So I'm going to grab my string here, and I'm going to cut off, and I know, about 18 inches or so. You know, I'll trim off anything I don't need. I'm going to string it through my wishbone. Let's go. Yeah, I think it's a total of about, that looks to be about 18, 20 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and just tie a single knot here. Not too tight because I want it to hang. And then I have to decide on placement for everything. So I'm going to pull this up tight because it's going to be going up under our circle. And then I'm going to place my circle down so I can know exactly where I need to kind of secure this little wishbone. So I'm going to go right about there, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. It's just going to temporarily secure it. You can put more glue later. But typically it takes longer for metal to stick to paper. So I just want to temporarily adhere it down there so I can do the rest. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up on these 2 strings while holding down at the bottom, because I want them, you know, to stay fairly straight. And then I'm just going to grab something and lay it on top of the strings so they don't move around on me. Straighten out my little guy here. And then I'll go ahead and peel the back off of this, and we'll stick it down. Just want to make sure I get it straight, and I want it to mostly cover that string on the bottom. So mostly I just want the wishbone sticking out. Okay, and then I'm just going to tie a bow in the top. I'm going to try to tie a bow. I see people tying bows this way and it looks easier, but I haven't quite got it mastered yet. That's not how I learned to do it. But I like the looks of it a little bit better. I don't know. You can make your bow as big or as small as you want. I like mine to be a little bit smaller, so I'm going to grab the ends. I'm going to just pull on them, get it even, and then pull tight. And then I'll go ahead and trim off the excess string. You could use any kind of string you wanted to. You could wrap the string around the card before you glue it down. And then I do like to put just a little dab of glue here on my knot, and that'll dry clear, just to kind of make sure that it stays secure. And there we have it. We've got our little Irish prayer / blessing card here, something different you can take to the pub with you. We again use the shamrocks, and we use the Nothing But Happiness stamp. I hope you like this video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, and consider subscribing to my channel, and use my discount code TJ10Color to save 10%. Bye-bye.